right, good morning, guys. I hope you had a great weekend. Today we are going to start our next morning work, which should be in your math folder, is Q38. Okay, make sure you have that in your hand and that you have completed Monday's column. All right, so our first problem is, again, PEMDAS.
PEMDAS. You love those PEMDAS.
Well, we are reviewing, so got to make sure we got it all. All right, so we have 12.3 minus 2.2 times 8/4 divided by 2. All right, so first off, do we have any parentheses? We do not. Do we have any exponents? We do not. So the next thing we're going to do is multiplying and dividing, okay? So again, it goes from left to right, so you have to go as you find them. So the first thing we find is a multiplying. So we're going to do 8/4 times 2 2/10. Okay. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Okay. Make sure for the second row you move over. Again, 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. 14, 6, 7, 8. And then, of course, at the end, you count how many times you moved over. 1, 2. And that's where you put your decimal. Okay, so 18 48/100. 18 48/100, 12 3/10 minus. Okay, we are not yet done with this step because now we do still have some dividing. So we're going to come down here. Okay, we do not have any decimals on the outside, so we're just going to move this decimal up in the middle. Can you divide 2 into 1? You cannot. How many times will 2 go into 18? It will go 9. 9 times 2 is 18. We are left with a 0. We bring down our 4. How many times will 2 go into 4? It will go 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. We've got 0. Bring down our 8. How many times will 2 go into 8? 2 will go into 8 4 times. All right, and there is your answer. Okay, so let's move that on up. 9 24/100. So we have 12 3/10 minus 9 24/100. Okay, so we are done with our multiplying and dividing. Now we just do our adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting is a lot easier when you stack them, but remember the most important part is to line up the decimals. So you're going to line them up right here. Okay, I'm going to move this right here. And what do we put in this spot? It's very important. We're going to have to put a 0. That's right. All right, now that we have done that, we can subtract. Can we take 4 away from 0? We cannot. So we're going to have to borrow and regroup. We now have 2 there. We have 10/100. Okay, 10 minus 4 leaves us with 6. 2 minus 2 leaves us with nothing. We're going to just drop our decimal down. 12 minus 9 leaves us with 3. And so your answer is 3 6/100. If you have any questions, of course, just put it down at the bottom and I will answer them, make you an extra video, whatever we need to do. All right. Our next box is finding the product, which of course means multiplying. So the first one we have is a fraction problem. Okay, again, fractions, you just multiply across the top and across the bottom. So 6 times 5 gives me 30. 9 times 8 gives me 72. Is there a number that can go into both of them? Yes, they can both be divided by 2, but also, if you think about it, they can also both be divided by 6, okay? So I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 6. How many times will 6 go into 30? It will go 5 times. How many times will 6 go into 72? It will go 12 times, okay? So your answer is 5/12. Okay, if you are not sure why or you need me to go back over that again, if you divided by 2 instead and it took you more than one time to reduce, that's fine too. Your ultimate answer is 5/12 though. Okay, all right, the next product one we're doing is 3 4/10 times 3 1/10. Again, you ignore the decimals until the end and you just multiply like normal. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. We are done with this place, so we're going to put a 0 down here. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 1, 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. We add them up. And then we count how many times we had to move the decimal in the original one. There's 1, 2 times, 1, 2 times gives us 10 and 54 hundredths. If you got this one wrong, most likely what I've seen is you didn't put the decimal in the right place, okay? If there's another problem and you just can't figure out what you did wrong, message me and we will go over that together. Okay, I can video chat you, I can do whatever we need. All right, next box, we're going to find the quotient. And quotient, as you know, means dividing. So let's go back over our fractions first, okay? All right. So, what do we do when we are trying to divide with fractions? We drop, change, flip. Okay, this is why we learned inverse operations at the beginning of the year. So we drop the first one, which is 7/8. We change it to the inverse operation, which is multiplying. And because we are doing the inverse, we have to flip the second one. And then now that they are in fraction form and multiplying, we can just multiply straight across. 7 times 9 is 63. 8 times 4 is 32. Okay, how many times will 32 go into 63? It will go one whole time with 31 left over. So your answer is 1 and 31 30-seconds. Okay, all right. All right, our next one is dividing with decimals. So we've got 9/10. We are dividing it into 36 hundredths. Okay, again, you can have a decimal on the inside but not on the outside, so we are going to have to move that decimal so we have a whole number, and we moved it one time on the outside, so we got a one time on the inside move, go straight up, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. How many times will 9 go into 3? It won't. You can't do that. How many times will 9 go into 36? It will go 4 times. 4 times 9 is 36. And so there's your answer. 4/10 is your answer. Okay, any questions? All right, guys. Okay, our next box is adding and subtracting fractions. Yay, y'all are really good at these. Okay, so we've got 7/8 and we are adding 4/9. Okay, the very first thing we're going to have to do, of course, is to change them to the same denominator. All right, in this case, the smallest denominator is going to be 8 times 9, which is 72. Okay, 72. So you ask yourself, how did I get from 8 to 72? I multiplied by 9. And if you do it to the bottom, you do it to the top. 7 times 9 is, that's right, 63. How did I get from 9 to 72? I multiplied by 8. So 4 times 8 is, excellent, 32. And then all you have to do is add them together. 3 plus 2 is 5. 6 plus 3 is 9. You are putting it over 72. We, of course, cannot leave it this way. So we're going to tip it over. How many times will 72 go into 95? It'll go one whole time, and there will be 23 left over. And you cannot reduce 23, so that is your answer. Okay? Any questions? Message me, please. I'm happy to help. All right. Next, we've got, 7/8 minus 4/9. Okay. Again, we changed them both. Okay. So we had 63 over 72 minus 32 over 72. Okay. Just subtract. 3 minus 2 is 1. 6 minus 3 is 3. And you've got 31 70-seconds. Okay? Alrighty. All right, next we have an XY input-output chart, okay? Which I know sometimes gets y'all going. Y'all are like, I don't know what I'm doing, but you do. You're okay with these, okay? You just have to remember, how did I get from one column to the next, okay? So how did I get from 4 to 3? How did I get from 6 to 5? How did I get from 8 to 7? Once you figure out, you're going to say, how did I get from 12 to the unknown number? And how did I get from 13? How did I get to 13? So you are reducing each time. So it's either going to be subtracting or dividing. And let's just try easy subtraction first. How do you get from 4 to 3? You subtract 1, right? 4 minus 1 is 3. 6 minus 1 is 5. 8 minus 1 is 7. So the rule is obviously n minus 1. Whatever that number is, in the x column, minus 1. All right, so 12 minus 1 is 11. Okay, and what did we subtract to get to 13? Well, 13, the opposite of minus is plus. So 13 plus 1 gives me 14. Okay. All right. And our last one is labeling the angles. Okay. So it gives you an example. Okay. If you notice, it tells you which ones are equal by showing you that this one and this one are the same length. This one and this one are the same length, okay? So what do you have when you have two sides that are equal, okay? You are going to have either a square or a rectangle. And what do we know about squares and rectangles? We know that all 4 angles are right angles. So you're just going to label each of these angles right.
I don't think that means that they're the same length. They're parallel lines.
They're parallel lines. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mary Beth. They are parallel lines. It wanted you to label the shape and the parallel lines. Sorry. I don't always know what yours looks like because I handed it out to you. So you are going to label the parallel lines. I'm sorry. And you are going to label the angles. And all the angles are right. All right. So I go back. 2 parallel lines, 4 right angles. That's a rectangle. All right. Love you guys. See you later.